Episode 8 of Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is here, titled The Sanctuary. We're back this week with our weekly review, so let's dive into it. Hey everyone, my name's Captain Jack, and welcome back to Trek Central. Yes, this week's Star Trek Discovery episode has returned once again, and although I'd consider it a almost filler episode, it did have a lot of substance to it, and overall was an enjoyable episode. We've got some key moments to talk about in our review this week, which is a bit shorter due to some complicated technical reasons. However, sit with us and beam down as we're going to enjoy reviewing this episode. If you're new around here and want to stay up to date with the latest Star Trek developments in news, lore and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. And you can also follow us on social media to get daily updates on the Trek universe. Now remember, spoiler warning for the video ahead, we will be discussing episode 8 of Discovery Season 3 in full details. You have been warned. Now overall, when we originally heard this episode's name, The Sanctuary, we immediately thought it would relate to Cleveland Book Booker, the sidekick of Michael Burnham. Alas, the episode does relate to it, and although I kind of thought it might be a bit boring because we're chasing some transforms around the galaxy, it was actually really enjoyable. The episode obviously gives us a lot more of a Syra and the Emerald Chain, a faction we've heard about since around about episode 1 or 2 of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. The Emerald Chain is like the Orion Andorian Syndicate and is ruled and led by this woman called Syra, who's a powerful Orion. We actually get to see Syra in this episode. Now, although she does appear as one of these sort of plasticky Orions, I'm not particularly too keen on the makeup prosthetics of this. I think it looked a bit creepy and a bit low poly. She was kind of cool to see, though she didn't get much to do and wasn't that intimidating overall. Though I will say, Captain Sue was placed in a difficult position due to the Federation not wanting to go to war with the Emerald Chain or lacking the resources to do so. Admiral Vance specifically warns him against this, and we do see later on in the episode where he has to have a complicated thing to get around the rules here. It almost leads me to believe that Saru is becoming a more competent and capable captain, which is good as it's what he deserves as a character. He spent a long time in the shadows of other people, so he now needs to come to the forefront and becoming his own central character and a very confident captain. He's struggled in Season 3 so far, though having some key moments, but I really think in this episode he shines once again as a confident and capable Starfleet captain. In this episode, it's suggested by First Officer Ensign Tilly that they should use a non-Federation starship to attack Osira, to which Saru agrees with and allows the use of Booker's ship to actually go and attack Osira. This entire sequence, really well put together, and I liked how it played out because it made sense as well. Honestly, so great. The space battle sequence, I was really hoping we'd see Discovery in action because I really want to see its modern weapons equipment and stuff like that. However, that unfortunately wasn't something we got to see, which is a bit of a shame, but maybe I can wait for the next episode for when Discovery shoots something with its new torpedoes or phasers, etc. I just want to see some 32nd century weapons. Is that too much to ask for? Before I do forget, by the way, this episode was directed by Jonathan Frakes, and it's his second time directing a Star Trek Discovery Season 3 episode. He previously directed People of Earth, which was a fantastic episode, and when Jonathan Frakes is directing it, it's always going to be fantastic. He really is a quality director, and the man just knows Star Trek like the back of his hand. Okay, now one moment I want to talk about in this episode was a controversial one that came out of last week's episode, Unification 3. That was Saru promoting Ensign Tilly to his acting first officer. Many people, including myself, criticised this decision as it didn't seem correct. Typically in Starfleet, the second officer would then become a first officer, not the ensign at the lower end of a rank system, etc. However, I will say, after my qualms of Tilly becoming acting first officer in the last episode, in this episode, she shone really well and really has the confidence. We've seen a lot of her scenes, particularly when she's interacting with Saru and Rin the Andorian during a scene in a ready room later on. She, speaks to him with authority and a commanding sense of nature. Honestly, I really liked it. Tilly developed and worked a lot more in this episode, I think. And I'm interested in your opinions on this, because I know a lot of people were upset and sort of, aggravated by this decision. Rightly so as well. It doesn't usually make sense, and the writers almost wrote themselves into a corner, I feel. However, here, Tilly was portrayed a lot better. Whether it's due to the directing style or due to the writing, not entirely sure, but I wouldn't put it past Jonathan Frakes to know how to direct a good number one, really. Speaking of one moment about captains and number ones, Saru trying to find a catchphrase in this episode, kind of funny. He was going to go for Hit It, which is Captain Pike's, or he's going to go for Execute, which is almost a throwback to Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, when the captain of the Excelsior, who I can't remember at the time, I forget his name now, he had a really weird name, his catchphrase was Execute. I always remember him going Execute and the Excelsior just falling to pieces. Never going to forget that scene. We also get some great development with the character of Adira in this episode. They finally reveal that they would like to be referred to as they, them, not she. And this is a great bit of development on how they casually put it in there. I will say, the injection in the certain scene of this episode did work, but did catch me off guard at one point. I'd have to watch it again and decide when they actually speak to Stamets about this, whether it made sense in that certain point. But I guess it did, considering Stamets referred to them as she, and then they are correct when saying it's actually they, them, and it makes sense. We'll also get a bit more development on the old topic of not speaking to Grey anymore, but also that builds back into something else which we'll talk about later on, or probably in another video entirely. I think I'll discuss that in this week's upcoming Trek Central livestream, as there's a lot to unpack from that certain moment, and I'd like to discuss that when I've had more time to think about it. Now, one moment we should talk about in particular is the burn. This is the whole premise of Season 3. The burn has basically caused the galaxy to practically collapse at this point, cutting matters short. However, now it seems the Federation, or particularly the Discovery, is breaking down the signal which is coming from this nebula. It's also revealed to be a point that music is coming from that nebula, or a signal in the form of audio, which is music, aka that theme. Breaking it down even further, thanks to Saru's heightened alerts and sensors, etc., it's revealed it's a Federation distress call. What's odd is it sounds like the USS Voyager's blue alert signal, which is kind of odd because I've not heard that in a while. Hopefully the Voyager J hasn't gone and got sucked back in time or something like that. That would be a bit weird. Anyway, it does sound like a Federation blue alert signal, which is when the Voyager used for landing, etc. That's what it sounds like to me. I'd have to check my Federation alerts and Starfleet alerts. That's what it sounds like. Now, it's revealed this could be a Federation distress signal, and therefore we're trying to decipher what it's breaking down. We don't get the answer in this episode, and I'm not sure if we'll get the answer in next episode earlier, because I feel like the next episode could be a gateway to get Georgiou out of the picture. And we'll be talking about this in more detail in other videos, but I guess I should talk about it now. Georgiou was, of course, the focus of this episode as well. The opening scene to episode 8 was her and Dr. Culber doing a bit of a trauma session, or more of a therapy session. That's what I was looking for. I was going to say psychotherapy, that's something else. We're doing a bit of a therapy session there. They then later break down and go to Dr. Pollard and do some medical scans where things go wrong, and it's revealed in the episode that Georgiou is dying. Now, that's a bit of a hard one because Culber wouldn't cut it like that dry. However, something is definitely going on with her, and we've been theorizing this for quite a while now. Ever since she met with Kovic, it's been revealed that something is going on. The whole dynamic in this episode, where Georgiou basically playing this tough villain, was broken down a little bit when Michael Burnham appeared on the screen and said, "No, you didn't do that." I really like the dynamic that's going on here, and you can almost see her grow and respect Culber towards the end of it, but not entirely, because she still doesn't like him and what he's actually up to. The context of Georgiou does make sense, though I'm still left with more questions than actual answers. We see more of her flashbacks appear in this episode once again, and that is actually, her over this dead person's corpse, which is Sun. Now, we've had a bit of theories on walking around who this person in the Mirror Universe is. Sun was a character from one of Georgiou's books, which I believe was called Dead Endless, I think, or maybe something else. It was one of the books which Georgiou was in it. It might have been Die Trying. No, that's Die Standing? It was one of them. I think it's Die Standing, that's the one. I always get the books confused myself. Now, in that book, she had a character or a friend called Sun, or Sun. I believe it was Sun or Sun, however you want to pronounce it. It sounds like Sun in a way. Now, he died in the book, I believe, and that's basically what happened. I've not read the book myself. I'm just going off what a few of you guys have told me. It's something we need to break down and explore a bit more, and I have a feeling we'll do that in the upcoming live stream this week. Don't forget, we here at Trek Central are streaming weekly on Sundays at 9 p.m. GMT here on the YouTube channel. Tune in, and I look forward to seeing you there. There is certainly a lot to unpack in this episode. Overall, though, I did enjoy it really well. I'm interested in your opinion, so please do let me know in the video comment section, as there's certainly a lot to unpack with this episode overall. Before we do go off and end off in this video, I must comment on Lieutenant Detmer'S abilities in the episode. We've been theorizing that something's going on with her for a while now. However, it almost appears that she does have a breakthrough in this episode where she takes on a Cyrus ship in Bookship, and she has Rin and Grudge as well. I do love how his gruff Andorian is holding on to a cat while explosions are happening out in space, etc. It's going really well, but it was nice to see Detmer flying a ship, and we do get to see some 32nd century style weapons. Now, the whole context around Book's planet and his brother, etc. does make sense, but at the same time, I feel like it was a bit OTT. I did like the look of the planet, though, and I have to compliment the effects designers on the planetary shield and the explosions happening on the planetary shield, and then sort of happening down below as well. That looked really well, and even when the people were running along and then falling to the ground due to the vibrations, it makes sense because the explosions are happening above them, not right next to them. It's a great little effects detail there, and whoever thought up this episode really put some thought into that context there of when there's effects and explosions happening. It's not exploding and rocks aren't falling out of a tree example. It's not the traditional Star Trek approach, it's more thought through sci-fi in a way, and I did really love it there. Book's planet is very interesting, but it does seem like a reused model before, which is kind of funny in a way, but yeah, there's a lot to think of in it and a lot to unpack. I think we're definitely going to have to make some more videos talking about this episode, as like I say, there's certainly a lot to go through. I'm more interested in Georgiou and where that's going to lead to. I feel like her exit for Discovery may be coming soon, and the reason I say that is the next 2 episodes are written by Bo Yeon Kim and Erica Lindsapol and Aaron Schultz, I believe. Now, the reason for this is basically those writers, particularly Bo Yeon Kim and Erica Lindepolt, are going to be the writers for the Star Trek Section 31 series, which was announced last year or the year before last. It was announced quite a while ago now. And this, of course, is the Section 31 spin-off series starring Michelle Yeoh as Phillipa Georgiou. Now, a lot of us have theorized where the show will take place. Previously we thought, it will take place in the modern timeline, which we're in now. Then again, it could also take place in the older Star Trek timeline, time frame like Captain Pike's time, etc. And a lot of us have theorized, if that's the case, how is Georgiou going to get back to that time? The writers kind of wrote themselves into a corner, with Georgiou staying aboard Discovery to fight Leland. If she stayed on Pike's Enterprise, which wouldn't have made sense at the time, why would she not stay with Discovery, the only people she knows? Then obviously she could have stayed behind there and picked up the pieces of Section 31 series. So instead, they need a way to get her back to the past. But at the same time, leading a Section 31 series in the future would be cool, but there isn't really a Section 31 anymore, unless Kovic really is running Section 31, which I don't think he is. In the upcoming episode trailer we got at the end of episode 8, it's revealed that he's done something Georgiou, or certainly up to something, but we'll be breaking down that trailer and exclusive clips as we head towards next week, so catch it on Tuesday, our typical breakdown time. For now, though, I'm going to leave you with the comment section. I want you to tell me what you thought of this episode. Any particular things I forgot to mention, I'm aware there's a few, because there's a lot in this episode to unpack. I'm excited for next week, and hopefully you're going to tune in this week for our live stream. That does wrap up our weekly review of Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 8. Remember, we're live weekly here on YouTube on Sundays at 9 PM GMT. Tune into our stream to chat with us and get your questions answered about this episode and the Star Trek universe. If you want to keep up to date with all of the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from a team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now everyone, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends.